My husband went to bed early, then his phone lit up with a message from Jessica, work. I opened it and read every dirty detail of their upcoming date. That night, I called Jessica's fiancé, and we showed up together at their candlelit table. I never thought I'd be the one sharing a story like this, but here I am. Maybe writing it down will help me process everything. So, here's what happened. I'm Sarah, 34 years old, living in Chicago with my husband, Mike. We've been married for 8 years. Mike's 36 and works in finance, which means long hours and a lot of stress. I run a small graphic design business from home, which gives me flexibility and keeps me busy. Our life together seemed normal. We had our routines, our inside jokes, and our favorite takeout spots. Sure, things had become a bit predictable over the years, but I thought that was just part of being in a long-term relationship. One Thursday evening, Mike came home looking exhausted. He said he wasn't feeling well and wanted to go to bed early. I was concerned and offered to make him some tea. He appreciated it, took the tea, and headed to bed around 8 p.m. I stayed up to finish some work and watch a bit of TV. Around 9:30 p.m., I went to the kitchen to get a glass of water. That's when I noticed Mike's phone on the counter. It lit up with a notification. I glanced at the screen and saw a message from Jessica, work. It read, "Can't wait to see you tomorrow night. I've missed you." My heart stopped. Jessica was a name I recognized. Mike had mentioned her a few times, saying she was a new colleague who had joined his team recently. I remembered him saying she was young and ambitious. But this message didn't sound like a typical work conversation. I stood there, staring at the phone, feeling a mix of confusion and dread. My mind raced with questions. Why was she messaging him like this? What did she mean by, "missed you"? I knew I shouldn't invade his privacy, but I couldn't ignore the sinking feeling in my stomach. I picked up the phone, my hands trembling. Mike had given me his passcode years ago, saying he had nothing to hide. I unlocked the phone and opened the message thread with Jessica. What I found shattered me. Their conversation was filled with flirtatious messages, late-night chats, and plans to meet up outside of work. They had been seeing each other for a few months, meeting at various spots around the city. The most recent messages detailed their plans for the following night, a dinner reservation at a cozy Italian restaurant downtown. Tears welled up in my eyes as I scrolled through the messages. The betrayal cut deep. I felt a mix of anger, sadness, and disbelief. How could the man I trusted with my heart be so deceitful? I needed to act, but I didn't want to confront Mike without more information. I decided to reach out to Jessica's fiancé, Tom. I had met him once at a work event and remembered him being a kind and genuine person. I found him on social media and sent him a message. "Hi Tom, I hope this isn't too forward, but I believe we need to talk about Jessica and Mike. Please call me when you can." Within minutes, my phone rang. Tom's voice was filled with concern as he asked what was going on. I explained the situation, reading some of the messages I had found. There was a long pause before he spoke, his voice trembling. I had no idea. I thought we were happy. We decided to confront them together. The next evening, instead of Mike heading out under the pretense of working late, I suggested we go out for dinner. He seemed hesitant but agreed. I could see the wheels turning in his head, probably trying to figure out how to juggle his plans. Tom and I arrived at the restaurant ahead of our partners. We requested a table near the back, partially hidden from view, but with a clear line of sight to the entrance. The atmosphere was intimate, with dim lighting and soft music playing in the background. At exactly 7 p.m., Mike walked in, looking around nervously. Moments later, Jessica entered, and they greeted each other with a hug that lingered a bit too long for just colleagues. They were led to a candlelit table near the window. Tom and I exchanged a glance, both of us steeling ourselves for what was to come. We stood up and approached their table. As we neared, I saw Mike's face change from relaxed to sheer panic. "Enjoying your dinner?" I asked, my voice steady but cold. Jessica's eyes widened as she saw Tom standing beside me. "Tom, what are you doing here?" "I could ask you the same thing," he replied, his voice laced with hurt. Mike stammered, "Sarah, this isn't what it looks like." I let out a bitter laugh. "Really? Because it looks like you're on a date with your mistress." The restaurant had grown quiet, patrons casting curious glances our way. Jessica looked down, unable to meet Tom's gaze. Mike reached out for my hand, but I pulled away. "How long?" I demanded. Mike sighed, realizing there was no way out. "A few months." Tom shook his head in disbelief. "We were planning our wedding, Jessica. How could you?" Tears welled up in her eyes. "I'm so sorry, Tom. I never meant for this to happen." I turned to Mike. "We're done. I'll be staying with my sister tonight. Expect to hear from my lawyer." With that, Tom and I walked out, leaving them to deal with the fallout of their actions. The days that followed were a blur of emotions and legal proceedings. Mike tried reaching out, apologizing profusely, but the damage was irreparable. Trust, once broken, is nearly impossible to rebuild. Tom called off his engagement, needing time to heal from the betrayal. We kept in touch for a while, offering each other support during the challenging times. Reflecting on everything, I realized that sometimes the people we trust the most can hurt us in unimaginable ways. But through the pain, I discovered my own strength and resilience. Life has a way of throwing curveballs, but it's how we handle them that defines us. The night after the confrontation, I couldn't sleep. I stayed on my sister's couch, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing in every direction. My phone buzzed nonstop with texts and missed calls from Mike. At first, I ignored them. But eventually, curiosity won. I opened the last message he sent. "Sarah, please. Let me explain everything. It wasn't serious. I made a mistake. I love you. Please call me." Not serious? That was his excuse? Months of secret messages, dinner reservations, sneaking around behind my back, and it wasn't serious? I didn't respond. The next day, I packed a few essentials and drove back to our place while I knew Mike would be at work. I didn't want to see him. I just needed to grab some clothes, my work laptop, and a few things that felt like mine. But when I walked into the apartment, I noticed something odd. The living room was too clean. It smelled like cologne, his favorite, the one I'd given him for our anniversary. There were 2 wine glasses in the sink. He had company. I felt like throwing something. But I didn't. I quietly grabbed what I needed and left. On my way out, I noticed something else. One of Jessica's earrings. It was tiny and gold with a little emerald stone. She must have dropped it or left it on purpose. I texted Tom. She was at our apartment last night. Tom, unbelievable. You okay? Not really. But I'm not surprised anymore. A few days later, Tom messaged me again. He'd been doing his own digging. Apparently, Jessica and Mike didn't meet just at work. They'd known each other before she joined the firm. "Tom, check her Instagram from 2 years ago." Scroll down. I did. And there it was. A photo of Jessica and Mike at a beach bonfire in Michigan. She'd tagged it, "Best trip ever with old friends and new flings." The post was from the summer before she even started at his company. My hands shook. That meant Mike knew her before she joined his team. This wasn't some random work affair that just happened. He helped her get the job. He brought her into his workplace. He built this whole double life and placed it right under my nose. I felt sick. Later that week, Mike showed up at my sister's house. I didn't expect him. I was sitting outside, drinking coffee, when I heard his car pull up. My sister was already at the door, ready to stop him. "I just want to talk," he said. "Please. 5 minutes." I stood up. 5 minutes. He looked rough, messy hair, circles under his eyes. "I made the worst mistake of my life. I panicked when I saw you that night. I didn't want to lose you." Jessica meant nothing. I held up my hand. "Stop saying that. You don't invite nothing into our home. You don't kiss nothing at candlelit dinners." He stayed quiet. Then he said, "She's pregnant." I swear the world tilted. "What?" "She says it's mine." I don't even know if that's true. We weren't careful. I was stupid. But I need time to figure this out. I stepped back. It felt like I'd been punched. "So you're here begging for me to take you back while she's carrying your child?" "I'm not asking you to take me back," he said quickly. I'm asking you not to hate me. I screwed up. I know that. But I didn't want this. I didn't want her. I wanted us. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. He left after that. I went inside and cried harder than I had in years. I called Tom that night. She's pregnant, I said. I know, he said quietly. She told me this morning. We sat in silence for a while, both of us realizing how deep the betrayal really went. Then he said, "What if they planned this? What if she thought getting pregnant would get him to leave you?" I honestly don't even know what to think anymore, I said. A week passed. Then another. I stayed at my sister's place, trying to figure out my next move. Mike kept sending updates about Jessica, about the baby, about how lost he felt. Then I got an anonymous email. The subject line said, "You don't know everything." Inside was a screenshot of another message thread. This time, between Jessica and another man. A coworker. Jessica, he thinks it's his. He's so easy to play. Coworker, damn. What are you gonna do when the baby comes out looking nothing like him? Jessica, doesn't matter. He'll never know. Either way, I get what I want. There was no name on the email. Just the message and the screenshots. I sent them to Tom. He called me a minute later. I knew it. She's been playing all of us. Then we started making a plan. The next morning after I sent Tom the screenshots, he called again. His voice was sharper now. Colder, but clearer. "I'm going to confront her," he said. "I don't think she'll admit it," I told him. "Oh, she won't have to. I have a way to make her talk." That same day, Tom met up with Jessica at a cafe near her apartment in Logan Square. I waited anxiously for an update. Finally, he called me that evening. She denied everything at first, he said. Said the screenshots were fake. That someone was trying to destroy her life. I rolled my eyes. Of course she did. But I recorded everything, he added. I told her I'd take the screenshots to HR at her company. Reminded her that her little relationship with Mike could cost them both their jobs. That's when she cracked. Jessica admitted it. Not only had she been seeing Mike long before she started working at his company, but she'd also been seeing other people. Multiple men. She didn't even know who the father was. The pregnancy? A calculated risk, she said, hoping it would push things forward. Push what forward, though? That's when Tom dropped the next bombshell. She wanted to get rid of both of us, he said. You and me. She told Mike to divorce you. Told him she could help him get a better job through her cousin who works in real estate. She made it all sound like a fairy tale. And Mike bought that? She promised him she'd help him launch his own investment firm if he left you, Tom said. My head was spinning. I wasn't even sure what hurt more anymore, the betrayal, or how easy it was for Mike to throw everything away for something so fake. I didn't hear from Mike for a few days. Then, on a random Tuesday, he called. Can we meet? He asked. Why? I want to talk face to face. Please. I agreed. We met at a neutral spot, an empty park near the lake. It was quiet, gray skies above us, the wind coming off Lake Michigan cold and sharp. He looked worse than last time. Lost like he hadn't slept. I didn't say anything. I got the test, he said. What test? The paternity test. It's not mine. I stared at him. She told me 2 days ago. I guess she got scared after Tom confronted her. She admitted it to me too. I feel like a fool. You're a fool, I said quietly. He didn't argue. I gave up everything for a lie, he said. I thought she cared about me. I thought I could rebuild something. But I was just a piece in her game. Sounds familiar. He winced. Then he said something I didn't expect. She was trying to blackmail me. I blinked. What? She said if I didn't leave you, she'd tell HR that I had coerced her into a relationship at work. That I used my position to get her the job. I was stunned. Why didn't you come clean earlier? Because I was already in too deep. I thought I could manage it. Keep you both. Somehow untangle it all before it blew up. I laughed, bitter. Keep us both. I know, he said. I sound pathetic. But I panicked. She kept threatening me, and I felt trapped. So you just let it all crash. Nice. I'm going to HR, he said. I'm going to tell them everything. I'll probably lose my job. I stood there silent. This wasn't the man I married. That man had backbone. Integrity. This man? He'd let someone like Jessica burn our marriage to the ground. And now another twist came. Tom messaged me that night. Tom, you're not going to believe this. Me? What now? Tom, Jessica is trying to pin everything on me. Me? What? Tom, she told HR I hacked her phone, stole private messages, and am harassing her out of jealousy. Me, isn't she scared of the screenshots? Tom, she said I faked them. My heart was racing again. This woman wasn't just manipulative. She was dangerous. She's trying to flip the narrative, Tom said. If she gets HR to believe her, I could lose my job. We need proof, I said. He agreed. We started gathering everything: timestamps, call logs, messages. I reached out to a friend of mine who's a tech consultant. She helped verify the metadata from the screenshots. Tom pulled up phone bills showing late-night calls from Jessica. We even found a voicemail where Jessica half admitted to lying. The thing is, I wasn't angry anymore. I was fired up. This wasn't just about heartbreak now. It was about justice. Jessica had made us the villains in a story she created, and now she was trying to destroy lives to protect her fantasy. But she underestimated us. We had each other's backs now, and we were going to expose every last lie she built. Tom and I gathered all the evidence, every screenshot, every call log, every traceable digital footprint, and sent it to HR in a single, clean, professionally written packet. We also included a notarized statement from my tech consultant friend, confirming that the messages were real and untouched. A week later, HR called both Jessica and Mike in for an official meeting. We weren't allowed in the room, but we waited just outside the building. The sun was blinding. I could barely sit still. The meeting lasted over an hour. Then the doors opened. Jessica came out first. Her face was tight, lips pressed into a thin line, eyes red like she'd been crying or screaming. She saw me standing there and froze. Tom stepped forward. Didn't expect us to show up, huh? She glanced away but didn't speak. Mike walked out a few minutes later. He looked defeated. He caught my eye but didn't try to come closer. That night, I got a call from Mike. It's over, he said. They fired both of us. I didn't say anything. I told them everything. What she did. What I did. They said they couldn't have either of us staying at the company. There was silence between us for a long moment. I deserved it, he finally said. He did. But I could hear something else in his voice too: relief. Maybe he was finally free of the double life. Or maybe he knew there was no repairing the damage, and this was just him sinking into acceptance. 2 days later, Jessica showed up at my sister's house. She came uninvited. My sister answered the door and shouted for me. She's here, she said with narrowed eyes. Jessica stood on the porch in a tight gray coat, hair pulled back, no makeup. She looked different, less sharp, more tired. Maybe even desperate. I just want to talk, she said. I stepped outside and crossed my arms. Why are you here? Her voice cracked. Everything fell apart. Tom's gone. Mike's gone. My job is gone. I didn't think it would all blow up like this. You tried to destroy 2 relationships and then blamed everyone else when it caught up with you. I was angry, she said quickly. Mike made promises. He told me he'd leave you. He said you were just roommates by then. That the marriage was already dead. I felt a lump rise in my throat. That doesn't excuse anything, I said. You knew he was married. You could have walked away. Instead, you manipulated him. You lied about the pregnancy. You tried to get Tom fired. Jessica looked down at her hands. I didn't know what else to do. My voice was flat. You could have not done any of it. She looked up at me. I'm sorry. But I didn't believe her. It wasn't remorse. It was regret for getting caught. You're not the victim here, Jessica, I said. Go home. She opened her mouth, maybe to argue, maybe to cry, but I closed the door in her face. Tom called me that night. I heard she showed up. She did. Said she was sorry. And do you believe her? No, he sighed. I'm glad we did what we did. But I still feel hollow. Me too. We didn't talk much after that. It felt like we'd done what we needed to do, but the damage still lingered in both our lives. We were the cleanup crew after a storm neither of us started. A few weeks passed. I finally moved out of my sister's house and into my own small apartment. Just me, my laptop, and a bunch of quiet evenings. Mike tried to reach out a few times after that. He wanted to meet. He said he was in therapy, that he was figuring himself out, that he wanted to explain things properly, to make amends. I met him once. We sat at a cafe where we used to go every Sunday. He looked older, worn down. I lost everything, he said. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just want you to know I've been trying to understand why I did it. I nodded. And have you figured it out? I was scared. Scared of getting older, of not being enough. She made me feel powerful again. But it wasn't real. No, it wasn't. I wish I could go back. You can't. We sat in silence for a while. There was no yelling, no dramatic final act. Just two people sitting across from each other with too much broken between them to fix. We said goodbye. He walked one way. I walked another. And that was it. Betrayal doesn't always come with screaming fights or cheating cliches. Sometimes it creeps in quietly, hides behind polite smiles and working late texts. It disguises itself as uncertainty, midlife panic, or a thirst for something new. I didn't get revenge. I didn't find a better love right after. What I did find was clarity. I learned I'm stronger than I thought. That I'd rather be alone and honest than married and doubting. I lost someone I once trusted, but I found myself again in the silence that came after. And for now, that's enough.